Welcome, foolish subjects. I'm Dr. Frank Isley. Now, before anyone says anything, yes, I have a boy's name. My parents and I have had a few disagreements about this, and with a few other misunderstandings, they have been banished to the dark realm for some time, but that's in the past, eh? Anyways, you're just in time for me to reveal my newest plan to take over the planet. Since you're probably unfamiliar with what you're looking at, I will explain to you foolish humans the process. Now, to begin, I will be taking my two components, mixing them together, and then I will be able to operate a hive mind. Everyone watching, I'll be able to control their thoughts. All right, I can't hear any of the other voices, just the normal ones in my head, screams of the damned and such. But that's pretty normal. Okay, maybe I don't feel so good. I have just had the strangest visions. Monsters, giant monsters. Oh, what were they called though? Kaiju. Kaiju. Yes, kaiju! If memory serves correctly, kaiju is Japanese for strange beast. Now wait a second. Kaijus, yeah! Giant monsters like Godzilla, Gamera, Mothra. Man, kaijus are so cool. I should really make one of these days, take over the world and everything. Wait a second. Oh my god, if I can't force the world to become a hive mind, plan B is obvious. Build a giant monster. Duh. All right, but where do I begin? Where do I start? What are the components, the abilities, the design, what it's based on? I know nothing about making a giant monster. Oh, what is it? Special abilities? Where does it come from? I know who I should talk to. That man from school. I believe his name was Newt, a young scientist who'd created multiple kaiju already. I think he was even the guy who made that 12-headed snake monster. The one who swallowed the Great Pyramid's whole, of course. Of course. I just hope I can trust him. But then again, we're all evil. We all want the same thing, of course, of course. Let me just get him on FaceTime now.
Dr. Frank. Hello. I see you finally found yourself a sidekick. Now, the only reason you could possibly be calling me at a time like this is because you need help building a kaiju, and you don't know where to start. Well, my old friend, you don't have to worry. I'm more than willing to help collaborate with you on a type of project like this. Let's first start with your character's design. When it comes to designing a giant monster, first you need to pick what I call a default base. Now, there are many ways you can go about doing this. When it comes to default bases, either enhance a standard animal, combine different animals together, or build a robot. You don't have to pick any of these bases, but they're the ones I found the most success with. Right off the bat, let it be known that all these things I just listed have already been made several times before, in things like movies, books, video games, etc. It's really up to the power of your imagination to make your kaiju stand out from the crowd. Now, allow me to explain what exactly all these three bases I just listed mean. First off is enhancing a standard animal and turning it into a giant monster. This is as basic as you can get when it comes to designing a kaiju of your very own. Just take any fierce-looking animal of your choosing, expose it to some nuclear radiation so that it may grow in size, make sure you develop a way of controlling your own creation, and finally, make it do your bidding. Be careful when it comes to exposing your monster to radiation, as there could be some default side effects that come with that. Now, this method is simple and works wonders, but you're gonna kind of be missing out on that cool factor that most kaiju have. But, you know, then again, one of the world's most famous kaiju ever is a giant silverback gorilla, so who am I to say you shouldn't do it? Let's take a closer look at one of my relatively more simple creations that I like to call Mai. That's right, this is the giant 12-headed snake that swallowed the Great Pyramid's whole. Remember those side effects I mentioned earlier? Well, originally starting out as a 2-headed snake, Mai was accidentally subjected to too much radiation, you know, resulting not only in his increased size, but also 10 extra heads. My plan to destroy every famous landmark in the world almost succeeded, until the 12 heads decided to eat each other. I still mourn his loss. Anyways, next up is combining a whole bunch of different animals together to create one big super kaiju. This also happens to not only be a common method of creating a kaiju, but a famous method as well. Take, for example, H.P. Lovecraft's Cthulhu, a monster that resembles that of a dragon with squid-like characteristics mixed into it. Godzilla, arguably the world's most famous kaiju, and well known at that, resembles a Tyrannosaurus Rex, mixed with a Stegosaurus, thanks to the dorsal plates on its back. Combining all sorts of animals together allows you to get the best of all worlds when it comes to the benefits that each of those animals have. With all these things taken into consideration, let's take a deep look at one of my greatest creations ever, Webladon. Design-wise, this kaiju very obviously looks like a cross between a great white shark and a spider. When I was designing him, I made it key to try and strike a balance between the two animals. The base of the creature is the great white shark, while the spider's abdomen replaces the tail, and I also added 8 legs, extra eyes, and mandibles to complete the look. Combining the aquatic abilities and ferocity of the great white shark with the agility and web spewing of a spitting spider resulted in a monster that laid waste to almost half of Australia before the military finally took it down. They'll be sorry they did that when I create another one. Alright, now we have the third option of kaiju you can create. This time, it's building a giant robot. Now, when it comes to designing your giant robot, you can do one of two things. You can either design it to look and have human characteristics, or design it to look and have animalistic characteristics. Both the design choices have their advantages and disadvantages. For example, the humanoid robot has a much more friendly user interface and can hold stuff properly in its grip. Animal-based robots, on the other hand, can be more agile, more sturdy, and pack a lot more weapons given its frame. Which brings me to the project I am actually currently working on, Project 360. As you can tell by the picture, I decided to make a robot in the shape of an animal, a barn owl to be more specific. Standing at 197 feet, I intend for it to have a whole slew of abilities, like laser eyes, flight, and the option to turn its head completely around. The only problem I'm running into is finding a lightweight metal that is sturdy enough to make sure it doesn't, get taken down by the military. But enough about that. I take it my kaiju design tips were useful for you guys, yeah? What I just listed doesn't even scratch the surface of what you could make. You can make plant kaiju, you can make, water kaiju, garbage kaiju, slime kaiju. The only limitations is, your resources, but more importantly, your imagination. So what do you think?
I'm so sorry, Newt. Why are you talking as if there's someone in the room with me? All right, don't answer that right now. I've memorized everything you've said, taken some good notes, and I reckon I can get started with designing my very own kaiju. I think the best course of action is we start with one of the animals I have captive in my lab already. The only question is which one will be the perfect base. How about the slug? Slugs do have 4 noses. It would be tracking down all my enemies with ease. But no, slugs are so slimy and squishy. That's not really what I want my gorgeous beast to be. Maybe the tarantula. Then I wouldn't have to feed it every day. They can just go 2 years without food. It'd be great. Oh my God. Although the whole 8 eyes thing, that's a little bit I can't deal with the way they look at me. No. Oh my gosh, elephants! Oh, they'd be so powerful, ginormous, and when they're threatened, they cause serious damage. But no. Elephants are already being poached so much. Over 100 a day get killed for just simple things like meat, tusks. I will not be harming any animals today. I may be an evil scientist, but that doesn't mean I don't love my pets. No. Okay, I've got it. The great white shark. Think about how perfect and practical a great white shark would be. It already happens to be the largest predatory fish of the planet. Their average length measures out to be about 4.6 meters, roughly 15.1 feet long. Some even 6 meters or even 19.7. Oh, the greatest of the great whites. And they're one of nature's finest predators too. Over 300 teeth ranged across 7 rows. This sea creature can swim up to 60 kilometers per hour. Oh my gosh, it's just so fast. And they can smell a single drop of blood from over 3 miles away. Oh my gosh. Great white sharks. We're doing a great white shark. But now, that does leave one slight problem, of course. The great white shark may be incredible, but it cannot walk on land, breathe on land, or even breathe while swimming backwards, its silly gills. It seems as if I'm going to have to combine the DNA of the shark with that of a land animal. The only question is, a vampire bat. Oh my gosh, a vampire bat. Yes. As the name would suggest, vampire bats feed on the blood of other living organisms. In order to find their food, they have a variety of different enhanced senses to achieve this goal. Oh, for instance, the vampire bats all have amazing hearing. Such good hearing, in fact, that they can distinguish the sounds of breathing made by individual organisms. Some vampire bats are even able to remember sonic components from specific creatures, allowing them to return to suck their blood again. Yes, they also have a great sense of smell, with their noses being so sensitive that they're able to detect infrared radiation that is produced by warm-blooded animals. If I were able to combine the DNA of a vampire bat and a great white shark, not only could it swim, walk on land, fly. Oh my gosh, did you know that there are only 2 species of bats out of the 12,000 we know of that have the capability to walk on land? Most of their bones just aren't strong enough for that. But the vampire bat and the burrowing bat have those powerful thighs. Anyways, flying vampire shark. I do like the sound of this. We're getting there. And I think I've thought of the perfect name for him. Sharkula. Shark and Dracula mixed together. I love it. But wait, something's missing. You know, it can fly. That's a given. Of course, the teeth. Incredible, sucking blood. Who doesn't love that? What else does it need? Protections. Something to protect itself. I can't create a giant monster and then just leave it out there to defend itself against military, tanks, helicopters, guns. Oh my. Just because it's giant doesn't mean it won't eventually get taken down. So, Newt, you got any ideas on how I can protect my sweet creature?
You know, Dr. Stein is right. You guys really need to upgrade your monster's more offensive capabilities. Now, very obviously, Sharkula already has a massive jaw filled to the brim with razor-sharp teeth, you know, given that his frame is that of a great white shark. However, if your foolproof plan goes accordingly, then not only will your shark have deadly teeth, it'll have deadly teeth that can suck blood thanks to the vampire bat DNA. Let's also not forget about those newly added talons close to the tail end of the shark. Not only can these sharp claws be used to slash and stab large buildings or tanks, but the feet themselves can be used to grab and drag large objects. You could have Sharkula grab a wrecking ball and throw it onto a military checkpoint, for example. Lastly, given that Sharkula's wingspan is going to grow in size when you eventually enlarge it, chances are it's going to be able to create huge gusts of wind whenever he flaps his wings. Now that's a good start and all, it's all fine and dandy, but surely you don't expect Sharkula to get up close and personal every time, do you? Much like a kaiju's design, their, let's say, powers differ greatly on what you have. When it comes to living things, it's a good idea to first try and enhance the natural abilities that your kaiju has. In my case, even though it was accidental, increasing the number of heads of the two-headed snake meant that it could eat more things at a time. Remember earlier when I mentioned that Weblodon was made from the genetic material of a spitting spider? Well, a few modifications to its silk glands resulted in the kaiju being able to spit out a large stream of silk from its mouth. The ability for a kaiju to shoot some kind of projectile or beam from their mouth is somewhat of a famous concept in the kaiju community. A notable example of this would be Godzilla's atomic breath, a beam of blue atomic energy produced from the monster's mouth. When it comes to a cyborg or robot, nothing beats packing it chock full of weapons. Let's take a look back at some of the weapons and abilities I mentioned when I talked about Project 360. Its primary weapon system will consist of 2 red-colored lasers fired directly from its eyes. 3 settings will be available for the laser: beam mode, burst mode, and scatter mode. Beam mode will continually propel a straight line of energy from the robot's eyes. Burst mode will fire several bolts of energy at a time, and cluster mode will, basically do the same as burst mode, only with the added benefit of having each bolt explode on contact with any surface. Project 360's head, like I mentioned before, is able to completely turn its head around its entire body, much like a real owl. This allows him to fire his beams behind him and to his sides, all while not being able to turn his body around. And that's not the only thing his spinning head is useful for. If he spins it fast enough, he'll eventually activate a force field that will shoot out the top of his head and surround his entire body. Also packed into his beak is a device that allows it to produce a supersonic sound wave, great for blasting away anything that gets too close to him. And that's not all though. Located in his belly is a compartment full of explosives. He'll be able to open up his belly and drop the bombs at any point whenever he's flying, much like a stealth bomber performing a carpet run. And finally, to top things off, is a little bit of some simple stuff. His wings and talons will be as sharp as swords, being able to slice through virtually anything and everything. Well, that basically wraps up everything I have to teach you, whether it be kaiju character design or their special abilities. Now, if you excuse me, I have a giant robotic owl to create. I hope we see each other again, but I don't hope that our creations meet each other on the battlefield, because if they do, you're dead. See you guys.
Do any of you fools have any idea why he keeps acting like there's someone else in the room with me? It's just foolish. And wait, what was that last little thing he was saying? Ugh, it doesn't matter right now. What matters is Sharkula. Well, let's see. It's just a rough sketch for now, but we're getting the plans. Now, time to give her the enhancements. Time to brainstorm. So, Newt was saying that I start with the natural abilities and work my way from there. Well, you know how bats communicate through echolocation? Maybe I could modify its DNA so that Sharkula can unleash a supersonic sound wave, just like Project 360. Okay, that'll be nice. Let's add that in there. But now what's next? I need at least one more ability to try and protect my creature. Let's see. Okay, here's something. How about we try and find a way to have it regurgitate the blood it collects from when it eventually starts eating all the humans and of course none of the animals. I could try and radiate Sharkula's blood so that way, when he's shooting out a beam of the blood he collects, it's just atomic blood. Similar to Godzilla's atomic breath, of course. An atomic radioactive beam of blood. Oh my gosh, this creature, she'll be incredible, unlike anything the world has ever seen before. So powerful, so strong. Yes, I must get to work on this immediately. Do you hear me, people? Do you hear all this watching at home? She's gonna be unlike anything this world's ever seen. Sharkula will be unstoppable. Make peace with your loved ones, because Sharkula will be coming for them soon.